And let me start by saying thank you to Morris, Manning & Martin and ACC for letting us make this presentation today. It's great to have all of you here. Just in the first few minutes while we wait for a few more people to join, we've got some questions to ask to find out a little bit more about our audience. And so, Amelia, if you could put the first one up, and if you could just quickly answer it. Does your company currently have a pro bono program? Yes or no? Rick, I feel like you should do the Jeopardy music. There you go. All right. How about the answer, Amelia? Oh, all right. Pretty evenly divided, but definitely some people looking to start. And we'll talk about how to grow yours as well. All right, great. Let's do the next one, Amelia. This is going to be learning a little bit more about your legal department. What is the size of your in-house legal team? If you could quickly do that for me, please. Okay. Is that enough time for the answer, Amelia? All right. Good mix there as well. And then finally, the next question is going to be, what do you hope to learn from today's webinar? And we'll give you a few options. First, how to start a pro bono program, how to grow an existing program, how to improve your current efforts, and my favorite, I'm just here for the professionalism credit. You can be honest. All right, Amelia, if you can put up the answer to that. All right, 20% of you are honest, but it's great. We've got people at all different stages, so this is great. Thank you very much for that feedback. So to kick us off, I'll introduce myself and my panelists. I'm Rachel Spears. I'm the Executive Director of Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta. Delighted to be with you here today. I wish I could see your faces because I'm also an ACC member and know many of you. I'm delighted to have our panelists here today, two friends of mine, Jeff Douglas, who's a partner at Morris, Manning & Martin, and Rick McMurtry, who is SVP, oh gosh, I don't have it in front of me, SVP and Associate General Counsel with Warner Media. And I would just like to start by asking y'all to talk a little bit more in introducing yourself about your role when it comes to pro bono at your organization. So Rick, you want to start?
Sure. So I have been at Warner Media, formerly Turner, for 20 years. Prior to that, I was in private practice, both with Powell Goldstein here in Atlanta and Howard Summon in DC. And when I was in private practice, there were established pro bono programs that I participated in. We were encouraged to participate in those through the law firms. But when I got to Turner, we didn't have any established program. And pro bono just sort of fell by the wayside for me for about 5 years before Rachel and Pro Bono Partnership reached out to me with a pro bono matter, which was trademark work, which is something that I do all day. And it seemed like a pretty easy project. I picked it up and I did it. And then got more involved with PBPA and on the board of it, and then worked with my legal department to put together a more formalized approach to pro bono partnership. We formed a pro bono committee called Outreach, and that then merged with our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and I chaired that for several years, and now I'm sort of like the ex officio chair with some other folks who have taken the reins, which I'm super happy about. And most recently, literally last week, we merged those into the AT&T Pro Bono and Diversity and Inclusion committees, and I'm on those committees now.
Thanks, Rick. What about you, Jeff?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Jeff Douglas. Like Rick, I've been at Morris Manning for about 20 years also. And, we had kind of a loose pro bono program when I was coming up through the ranks. And I think our managing partner approached me probably about 6 years or so ago. And I think she was looking to, have kind of a more formal program and to get, more participation, more buy-in from the attorneys. It was kind of difficult to track people's involvement. We had people who, might approach us and say, I'm interested in this organization. I'm on the board. What can I do to help? And, of course, we were fine with them doing pro bono work, but it was really kind of hard to track where our program was going and where it stood. And, one of the issues that I've talked to Rachel about was we were having difficulty getting non-litigators to participate in the program. So we were really looking for a way to get it off the ground. And Rachel, I can't remember how we connected, but, we started working with Rachel's organization, Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, and really kind of opened things up for us. There were a lot of opportunities there for non-litigators and ways for everybody to get involved. So, that was kind of the seed for our program. And then, once we started getting a little momentum and started getting people involved, we put some practices in place to help people with conflicts and engagement letters and tracking hours and things like that. So that's kind of how we how I got involved and how we started to grow our program.
That's great. So one thing I hear often about pro bono programs is how important it is to get buy-in from the top. And starting with Rick, I wonder if you agree with that, and if so, what message do you give leadership in order to get that buy-in?
Yeah, that was never a problem for me. Louise Sands, General Counsel of Turner for 19 of my 20 years at Turner, was always very supportive of pro bono, and the culture of Turner itself kind of lended itself to a lot of volunteerism, and the same is true of AT&T. So AT&T has had a very active pro bono program itself, and it is an environment or a culture of supporting that work. So that's never been, getting the buy-in has not been an issue for me or for us at Warner Media. And then from a corporate level, we do have some focus on arts, education, diversity, and inclusion. And so oftentimes we try to tie our pro bono efforts to those corporate objectives overall of helping with the arts, education, and diversity and inclusion.
That's great. What would you like to add, Jeff?
I kind of had the same experience as Rick did. We didn't have, I didn't have an issue getting buy-in from the top at our firm. I think that they understood how important having a robust pro bono program is. If I were trying to sell it, I kind of think of the benefits. It's kind of a three-legged stool. You've got the benefit to the community, the benefit to your in-house legal staff, and the benefit to your company overall. With respect to the community, there's a lot of nonprofits and individuals in our community who are trying to effect positive change, but they need some sort of legal representation to further their missions. And providing these organizations and these individuals with pro bono legal support lets them do this positive work in the community. The kind of the second leg is the benefit to your in-house legal staff. And, I'm not sure how much this is the case for some of the companies and the attendees today, but for us, we saw a huge benefit for younger lawyers. It gave them direct interaction with clients in an early stage in their career, experience handling matters that they might not otherwise get until later in their careers. And I think with law firms and companies who have in-house programs, what I've seen over the past 20 years is that the groups in our firm and I think the legal departments at larger companies are becoming increasingly specialized. And you spend 95% of your time kind of focusing on one area of the law, and getting your in-house legal staff to help out with pro bono matters gets them exposure to areas of the law outside their day-to-day specialty, and I think that ultimately makes the lawyers in your legal department more well-rounded. And I guess lastly is the benefit to your company. One of the biggest benefits that we've seen is in connection with recruiting and retention. And I know we'll probably touch on this in a little bit, but when I'm interviewing candidates, every single one of them asks about our pro bono program. It's obviously something that they're interested in, so it certainly helps with that. And there's also for us there's networking opportunities. And I know a lot of the pro bono matters with Rachel's organization. Sometimes she pairs law firms with in-house lawyers at companies, and they get to work together on a matter, and it's a great networking opportunity and gives you an opportunity to work with lawyers at firms that you may not normally work with. So if I had to kind of sell it to leadership, those are some of the things that I would mention.
Rick, can you add any additional benefits to the in-house legal department? I'm thinking how Turner would often use this in kind of team building and other things.
That's right. I agree with everything that Jeff said about, obviously benefits to the community, to the individuals who are participating in it, and then to the company as a whole. But we did oftentimes use those pro bono events as an opportunity to partner, to do some sort of team building activity. And in fact, one example, one of our pro bono clients, Bloom Closet, which provides toys and clothing for foster children, we decided for our Christmas event year before last to buy a whole bunch of bike kits and build 30 bikes, I think, as our in lieu of a Christmas party, as our activity for the holidays. And so I should say holiday party, sorry. And then donated those to the Bloom Closet. So we have a lot of people. I'm an adoptive parent. My legal assistant was a foster mom and an adoptive parent, and a lot of people who were passionate about that as well. And so it really kind of fed, our souls in some ways to be helping an organization that honestly was introduced to us through the pro bono work that we did with them. I didn't even know they existed before we took that matter on. And we've done that time and again, with other programs to provide pro bono work. And one of the real big benefits of that has been to be able to integrate some of our non-lawyer legal department members in some of that work. They're able to participate, in some of the more community-oriented things, not necessarily pure legal pro bono work.
You've both kind of spoken to the benefits to the company and to the community and the legal department of pro bono work. And I'm going to put both of you on the spot and ask you to speak to kind of the personal benefits. I know when I was at a law firm, that's what always motivated me in doing my pro bono work, is how it made me feel. So I wonder if I can put you on the spot to just speak to that. Jeff, can I start with you?
Yeah, definitely. It's probably what I'm about to say is probably self-evident, but lawyers who enjoy their jobs usually make better lawyers. And lawyers who have these outlets, they're able to get this satisfaction by helping these organizations and these individuals. It ultimately helps with morale, and it helps with retention. I know for us, and I think it's definitely true for in-house legal departments also, when you're bringing a new lawyer on, you're investing a lot of money and time in that lawyer, and keeping these people happy helps ensure that they'll be productive contributors at your company. And the younger generation of lawyers, they're the ones that ultimately grow into the leaders of your organization. So I think, giving them these opportunities and keeping these lawyers happy and content is very important.
Rick, what about you? What motivates you to do pro bono work?
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's selfish. It makes me feel good about myself, right? I feel good that helping the community. What I really love that I've done through Pro Bono Partnership, but through some other partners, is that I get to touch on a whole bunch of different organizations. So for things that are, that I'm passionate about, I talked about foster children. That's a big one for me. The gay community is a passion for me, and immigration. I've done some worked with organizations that do immigration. I've done a U visa through GAIN, and just really sort of getting to feel like I'm helping in some way, helping these causes that are important to me. And then also selfishly for me, my work is not focused on Atlanta or Georgia. It is, and so I didn't know the Atlanta legal community that well. And Pro Bono has given me an opportunity to get to know, the Atlanta legal community much better, to network a little bit within that community. And then through serving on the board of Pro Bono Partnership, I now know all these other in-house lawyers who are equally passionate about pro bono work. So I get both these relationship issues and that self-satisfaction of feeling like I'm contributing in some way.
And Rachel, one other thing that I might add to that is, typically when we finish a pro bono matter, a lot of times you'll send over kind of a note from the organization, and they're expressing, personally how much you've helped them. And, I don't think I ever really understood until I kind of got into this role, just the significant impact that you're having on these organizations. Most of them are very small, and they just couldn't do what they're doing without your help. So to read these personal notes at the end of a project from these people in these organizations, just expressing how much the pro bono assistance has helped them is great to see, and we've seen it from a number of organizations.
That's true for me too. I think about my in-house clients are not nearly as grateful as my pro bono clients are. Oftentimes I'm telling them no, they can't do something because the legal risk is too high or something like that. So I'm not their favorite person sometimes going up at their door, but the pro bono clients invariably are very grateful for the work that you do.
Before Pro Bono Partnership, when I was at a firm, I did adoptions through Atlanta Legal Aid Society for grandparents. And I did 3 separate adoptions for one family. And after each adoption hearing, they brought me a red velvet cake.
Oh.
I will never, that's been years and I will never forget it. So I'm very motivated by gratitude and cake.
I have a tie that one of my ABLF clients gave me years ago. Now I never have to wear it. So.
That's true.
But I won't get rid of that tie because he gave it to me.
It means something.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people on the call who are interested in starting pro bono programs at their legal department. So I want to hear from y'all, kind of how do you get started? Rick, let's start with you on this one. How did you did this, how did you get started?
Yeah, I got started by doing it myself, individually, and then I started with my greatest sphere of influence, which was my team, and said, hey, Pro Bono Partnership puts out this newsletter. I'd appreciate it if you'd sign up for that. They have, some volunteer opportunities, and so it was a little ad hoc at first. And then talking to my friends within our legal department about some of that work that we were doing. And then ultimately went to the general counsel, Louise Sands, and said, I'd like to try to put a more formalized approach around this. Excuse me, which is when we developed that committee. I just sent an email out to the department and said, anybody interested in this, please sign up for this committee. And then we started talking about our organizational goals and some focus that we wanted to put around those organizational goals. And one of those in particular was diversity and inclusion. And we ended up having a separate diversity and inclusion committee that we then merged back into with the Pro Bono committee. And we took a really, I thought, thoughtful approach to that. We decided that we wanted to build the pipeline of more minority candidates to be in the legal profession. And to do that, we partnered with elementary school, middle school, high school, and then graduate and potentially law school students through different programs. We went to Scott Elementary and partnered with them to just go see the kids a couple times a year. We help them build these dream boards where we talk to them about what we did as a career and then ask them what they might want to do with a career as a career. Rarely did anybody ever pick lawyer. It was usually rap star or, professional basketball player or something like that. And so we talk about like, what do you want to do? What if there are very few people get to be a professional basketball player? But there are other things that you could do in association with sports and things like that. And then we help them build these ladders to reach their career goal. And then with middle school students, we partnered with REACT, which identifies high potential students from underserved communities. And we just talked to them about the legal profession and different jobs you could do within the legal profession that's not necessarily even a lawyer job. And we did the same with street law for high school students. I would bring, the paralegal who handles all the trademark searches to talk about some trademark search, and she'd do that live with the students to kind of show them what day-to-day life is like as a lawyer. I grew up in Old Hickory, Tennessee. I did not know a lawyer. My only vision of a lawyer was from television, and just giving them that exposure was sort of the opportunity to, hopefully introduce them to a career that they might not otherwise have exposure to. And so we tried to take a kind of thoughtful approach to, in that case, diversity and inclusion, and then growing it from there to really, frankly, timely issues. When immigration was such a timely issue in 2016, we had many people who wanted to help with some of those things. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of people in the legal department who also had a passion for pro bono work. So it was never hard to recruit people to be part of it. I had support from my management, and I get a lot of credit for initiating it, but it really just, I planted a seed and that was it. And it grew on its own like a weed.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, what about you? What steps did you take when you were starting y'all's program?
I tried to first figure out, what were the barriers to people participating. We've got a lot of lawyers, and there seemed to be some interest, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't taking off. And in talking to people, our firm is generally divided into thirds. You've got real estate, you've got corporate, and you've got litigation, and various kind of subgroups within those broader categories. But we had a fair bit of participation from litigators. You know, a lot of us were doing the ABLF Saturday Lawyers program and enjoyed that. But you know, in kind of talking to people, it seemed like 2/3 of our firm was being left out. There just weren't opportunities for our real estate attorneys and our corporate attorneys. And you know, I think that's, Rachel, around the time that we started working with Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta. And, you know, I found the way that they presented their opportunities was great. I think about it as kind of a cafeteria style, where you've got a number of kind of discrete volunteer opportunities, and they're divided up by kind of department. You've got real estate matters, you've got IP matters, and you've got corporate matters. And, you know, that just opened up a whole new world of volunteer opportunities. And it was a great way to get interest from other attorneys who had kind of, you know, felt up to that point like there wasn't any pro bono work that they could do. And, you know, as Rick said, that kind of planted the seed. And, you know, once you get people past some of their initial reservations, you know, one of the big ones I heard was the time commitment. You know, what I had heard a concern was, you know, I'd like to volunteer, but, you know, I'm concerned that if I volunteer once, then I'm going to get sucked in and I'm going to be on call every time they need something. And I'm just concerned that I won't have enough time to help them. So, you know, the fact that the opportunities that Pro Bono Partnership was offering, you know, they were all discrete 10 or 15 hour opportunities. And, you know, we have a process in place now where, you know, we've got an engagement letter, and it defines the limited scope of the engagement, so the client understands that we're helping out with them on this one matter. You know, that was these kind of things were good ways to address some of the concerns that I was saying about how do I participate. If I do participate, is it going to take up a ton of my time? And, you know, once people started volunteering, they saw that it was easy, it was satisfying, and I think as Rick touched on, it was kind of built a self-sustaining momentum from there. You've got people who really enjoy it, and then they start talking to their friends, and their friends start volunteering and start talking to their friends. And, you know, with respect to the time commitment, I understand the concern, but what I actually saw was once these people started volunteering with the organizations, they couldn't wait to help the organization with another matter. They developed a great relationship with the organization, and we've seen, you know, the same people volunteer over and over in connection with other projects for that organization. So, like Rick said, if you plant the seed and you get some people that start to have some interest in it and start volunteering, you'd be surprised how it kind of grows on its own.
Rick, Jeff talked about the challenge of just having enough time. What are some ways that your legal department helped address some of the challenges, the barriers to people doing pro bono work?
Well, I think, and not to Pro Bono Partnerships horn too much.
Go ahead.
I mean, they're discrete projects. So, and they're corporate work, they're work that we typically would be doing in our everyday jobs. And so it was kind of well known that you weren't signing up for, you know, a 10-year long commitment to doing some huge litigation matter or something like that. So there's that, but also the company as a whole, first of all, we get a week off. We have 40 hours to do volunteer work, paid time off to do that, so that the company supports that, whether that's through pro bono work or just general volunteerism. And then we tracked it to some degree as best we could. We don't keep our time, and we don't like keeping time. So we would just generally estimate the amount of time that we participated in a pro bono hour and pro bono matter, and then we touted that in the department as, we've spent X number of hours this year doing pro bono work, and it was really, praised and supported, and I think people just find time. You find time to do something that you care about, and the time commitment, while always sort of an initial barrier maybe to participating, once you do the first one, you realize that it is not a true barrier.
I'm going to talk in a little bit about partnering with pro bono organizations like Pro Bono Partnership, but also some other ones I will talk about. But first, I want to talk about partnering, having your legal department partner with a law firm and the benefits of that and sort of how to make that work. So Jeff, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, we've seen a number of projects, some of which have come through Rachel's organization, where an in-house lawyer is looking to partner with an outside lawyer. And I can tell you, if anybody that's on this webinar today has reservations about the time commitment, or they need support from outside counsel, or they prefer to partner with outside counsel, everybody I know here at Morris, Manning & Martin would jump at the opportunity to work with any of you and any of your companies to get to know you. And I think that that's true for other law firms also. I think working together on a project it's a great way for companies and outside counsel to get to know each other better, particularly if they haven't worked together before.
Rick, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I love if there is something that looks like it's a little more time intensive, then I very much would like a partner, an outside law firm partner to help with that. It gives me sometimes some exposure to more junior level attorneys that I don't interface with on a regular basis. So it lets the law firm kind of show their bench in some ways to the in-house counsel. I've had a matter where the client spoke Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, so I partnered with an outside lawyer to help with that. And then as a war story, I sent a cease and desist letter on Time Warner letter, or maybe on Turner letterhead, to a pro bono client without really thinking about the fact that it was on my corporate letterhead. And that actually ended up in litigation, and they tried to assert personal jurisdiction over my poor pro bono client in New York, based upon the fact that Turner was owned by Time Warner, which was headquartered in New York. So I've learned my lesson on that, and I like to partner with a law firm anytime I think there might be correspondence that needs to be issued to a third party, and we might need to use the law firm's letterhead rather than my corporate letterhead.
Good point. I want to talk a little bit about when you're setting up a pro bono program, what you need to think of structurally. Are there policies you need to put in place? Are there other things to consider? Jeff, do you want to start us off for this one?
Yeah, I think one of the first concerns that we hear, and Rachel, maybe you could add a little bit to this, is the E&O malpractice insurance. Do you want to touch on that briefly, and then I can kind of flesh out some of the other?
That's important for you to check. Most corporate legal departments do not have malpractice insurance, so it's a reason to partner with a pro bono organization, check and make sure they have a policy that covers all volunteers. That's probably the easiest way to handle that.
And then the structures that we have in place, whenever a matter comes in, the first thing that we do is I have my assistant run a conflict check. That's important for pro bono matters also. I think I touched on the engagement letter. I've prepared kind of a template pro bono engagement letter that, as I mentioned before, kind of sets out the limited scope of the engagement, And we also, I know this is a little different for law firms, but we set up a matter number for that particular matter to track people's time. Again, that's a little bit different for companies who don't bill by the hour, but and we can touch on this in a little bit, but I do think it's important for companies, even if they're not tracking every hour, to try to track how much time or how much time generally is being spent, maybe the number of organizations that you're assisting with, maybe the number of people who are assisting with those matters. So those are all things that we have in place kind of at the outset of a matter when they first come in.
Rick, from the in-house perspective, kind of how do you set it up?
I don't think we did a great job of it. It was sort of informal. So I would say we don't have the same degree of conflicts issues that a law firm might have, but we do have them. I had a potential client one time that had a dispute with Warner Brothers, which was our sister company. And I was like, no, I'm afraid we can't help you with that one. And tracking time has been something that we've never done particularly well, I don't think, because we don't like doing it, and we don't have to do it otherwise. And so we did set up a system where you emailed one of the paralegals on my team with how much time you spent on a matter. And I know Pro Bono Partnership asked you to provide that information, and I could get reports from you about at least the pro bono work done through Pro Bono Partnership on the amount of time that we spent. And as I said, we like to tout that, within the department. So it's, it's something that we should have done a better job of. I think we always sort of underestimated the time, but I think it's important that you do that, so that you get that corporate benefit of, it reflecting part of the culture of the company or the legal department. It kind of, what's the saying? Whatever's measured is all. If you measure it, you'll do it. And I think that it's important to do that.
Yeah, in my experience, the legal departments are a lot less structured in terms of their pro bono programs versus the law firms. But it probably is a good idea if you're starting out to think about some of these issues like conflicts, including positional kind of conflicts, and how you're going to handle some of these things.
Well, that's true too. I mean, I think you also need to think about what are the objectives of your organization? As I told you, arts, education, diversity, and inclusion. And does this client fall within that? And if it doesn't, that's fine. Immigration doesn't fall within that, but we still, volunteer for organizations that help with immigration issues. But, if it's in conflict with it, then that would be a problem. So and we have had situations before where, somebody came to me and said, hey, I'd like to do some pro bono work for this organization, and we wanted to investigate the organization. And that's been particularly true for CNN as a news organization. We, want to make sure that any company that we're affiliated with doesn't call into question CNN's objectivity. If it were some sort of heavy political organization, then we would probably want to kind of look at that more closely. So we didn't, I'm glad you mentioned the positional conflict, because that is something that has cropped up, and we don't have a formalized way to address it, but you do need to at least have some sort of pipeline for that to go through somebody who can say, like, it's probably not a great idea for, us to provide pro bono legal services to Trump for president or on behalf of CNN or something like that.
Thank you. So now I want to talk about my favorite topic, which is partnering with nonprofits, partnering with pro bono organizations and doing your pro bono work. And I will talk about Pro Bono Partnership, but I want to mention other organizations first. Amelia, if you could put up in the chat some other organizations. I wanted to mention there are a lot of organizations in Atlanta that provide pro bono opportunities. I just mentioned a few of them that I know from experience work with in-house, have done some work with in-house legal departments, but there are others as well. And I put their websites up here too, in case you want to investigate. But I think, you know, each one of these organizations is an amazing organization. I know all of their executive directors, and we work closely together. So I'm certainly not telling you to only volunteer with Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, but I think what you can do is talk to your legal department, find out their interests, talk to these organizations, find out what they're offering, and just see what is a good fit. And you don't have to limit yourself to one organization, certainly. Before we talk about Pro Bono Partnership, I'll just put it up to you, Jeff, and then Rick, to talk about whether y'all work with some of these organizations or others that you would like to mention. Yeah.
Rick, you want to start?
Sure, I'm happy. I see here GAIN, which I've mentioned that we have participated with. Another organization that handles immigration issues is Kids in Need of Support, or Kids in Need of Defense, excuse me, KIND. And we've had many volunteers work with KIND. GLA is another, Georgia Lawyers for the Arts is another organization that we work with, have a number of volunteers that participate with. You know, many of their issues are media related and very familiar to people within Warner Media, so it's a good natural fit for us. But by far, Pro Bono Partnership is the organization that we've had the deepest affiliation with, and I think that's largely due to the type of matters and the type of clients that Pro Bono Partnership has. I'm trying to think, other than the diversity and inclusion partners that I mentioned earlier, Scott Elementary, Street Law, and React are ones that we've partnered with in the past as well. I'm sure there are more, but those are the ones that are coming immediately to mind.
And Jeff, I know y'all worked with ABLF. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, they've got a great Saturday lawyers program that I mentioned. We typically have a number of people go down there, and you know, you get to screen the people that come in, and you know, frankly, I found that a little challenging, particularly if you're a younger lawyer. It's difficult to you know, kind of tell some people that you know, yeah, this is something that we can help you with, and others that it's something that we can't help you with. But they have a great support staff down there, and I know a number of people have really enjoyed working with them. We've worked with Atlanta Legal Aid Society. We do a fair bit of work with Georgia Lawyers for the Arts. They have a number of IP projects that we help out with, and I think my experience is similar with Rick's. We do a ton of work with Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, just because of the kind of breadth, the number of organizations and the different practice areas really meshes well with the practice areas in our firm.
So that's a great introduction, because now is time for my commercial for Pro Bono Partnership. So if y'all will bear with me, I don't want to miss this opportunity to tell anybody on the call who isn't already familiar with Pro Bono Partnership, just to tell you a little bit about us. We were started 15 years ago by in-house lawyers and for in-house lawyers. Our board is actually made up of in-house lawyers, including Rick, one of our longtime board members. And we do everything we can to make it easy and enjoyable as possible for in-house lawyers to do pro bono work. We match volunteers with nonprofits in need of free legal assistance. Both Jeff and Rick have touched on this, but our clients are 501c3 nonprofits that serve low-income or disadvantaged individuals, lots of different areas, lots of different missions, but all serving basically the poor. And so a lot of our volunteers are attracted to the mission of the organization when they do their, choose a project. But you can also choose a project based solely on what the work is required. We help our clients with contracts, corporate governance, employment, intellectual property, real estate, tax, technology, healthcare, the list goes on, and we tell them, if we can find a volunteer with that expertise, we will take it. And so you're able to use your skills, your area of expertise to provide legal assistance to a nonprofit so they can focus on their mission. So we sell ourselves as there's really no training required because you're doing something similar to what you do every day. But we are here to support you to the extent it may be a little bit different, and, just to help make things easier on you. We have a staff attorney assigned to every client and every project. So when you have that introductory call with the client, one of our staff attorneys is on there to kind of direct the conversation if they start talking about some other legal issues or whatever. And so we also provide form documents. A lot of our work is, similar, so you never really have to start from scratch, really. And we also provide support of those volunteer attorneys. As I mentioned before, we have malpractice insurance that covers all volunteers. And even if you're licensed in another state, we can handle that too. Our attorneys act as co-counsel on every matter. We can also match you with a law firm attorney, as Jeff mentioned. They are happy to partner with you on projects. So that is always an option if you want to take something maybe a little bit outside of your practice area, or maybe it's your first pro bono project and just feel a little more comfortable partnering with someone else for that additional support. We can absolutely do that for you. We don't serve individuals, and we don't really do litigation. Usually these are more transactional legal work. So those are some of the things that we do. As Jeff mentioned, our clients typically take really 5 hours to 15 hours, and it usually can be done on your own schedule. We will indicate if it's a project, kind of an immediate need project where you're going to have to jump on it. But for the most part, these are done over the course of a few months. Let me stop there and take a breath and ask Rick and Jeff, would you add anything to that list?
Just a couple points, Rachel. One of the things that we love about Pro Bono Partnership is all of the matters are pre-screened by Rachel and her staff. So when you see it on the list, it's ready to go, and you can jump right in. And then Rachel, the only other thing I was thinking is it may make sense. Just so it's hard to describe kind of the list that you put together and that comes out. I'm not sure if there's an easy way where people can go to your website and maybe click on the volunteer opportunities or sign up for your monthly newsletter so they can kind of see with their own eyes what Rick and I have been talking about and how easy you make it for people to volunteer.
Yeah, actually, Amelia, if you will put up my email address in the chat box, that was, you can go on our website and you can see the current list of volunteer opportunities. We're at the end of the month, so it's a little short, but we will have a new list going out on Monday. If you email me, I will get you added to that list. There is no obligation, but you can take a look at the types of projects that we have, and then you just email me if a project looks interesting to you. And we will get you matched up. Some of the projects go really quickly, some it takes a little while longer. But please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you would like to be added to our mailing list. And if you'd like to learn more about Pro Bono Partnership and getting your legal department involved, what we will typically do in a normal world is to go and make a presentation to your legal department, and I will bring along a board member like Rick with me. These days we're moving those to virtual presentations, so we can set something like that up just to tell your legal department a little bit more about us. But I encourage you to do that. And it does help to see the list of projects. It gives you a better idea. Just to give you one example, one of my clients is Agape Community Center. They are kind of in Bolton Road community, and they have an after-school program and a program for the elderly. And they've had to move to an entirely virtual model, of course. So they contacted us for help revising their liability releases. So we need an attorney just to take a look at the releases, which are form releases, and just see if they need to make any changes now that they've moved virtually. So that's a typical project. but we have lots, lots of different kinds. We have probably 50 projects every month for you to choose from. Let's see. We've got a few more things I want to just make sure we hit before we get to the questions. We talked a little bit about measuring. Rick, I know you said it's important to measure. Can you speak to how to measure your progress and your success? If you've already got your organization, your program going, like how should you be measuring things? Maybe Jeff could speak to that to start.
Yeah, again, it's probably a little bit easier for us to track our time since we bill by the hour. But in addition to tracking our time, we also have other metrics. We take a look at the number of projects that people at our firm assist with every year. We take a look at the number of organizations. We take a look at the number of attorneys involved. And we also take a look at kind of the overall number of attorneys at our firm, use that as the denominator, and how many people have been volunteering. We like to get a sense of kind of the percentage of participation. And we also take a look at, is it just younger attorneys who are volunteering? Is it more senior attorneys? When I first started, there weren't a lot of senior attorneys who were volunteering. And if you're building a program, you like to see participation from the top down. You like to see that your leaders, share your goals and sentiments in connection with building a program. So that's something that we've encouraged. And obviously, young lawyers stay with your company and become older lawyers, and they become the leaders. So, really focusing on kind of the younger lawyers and building it from the ground up has helped us. And, that's one of the things that we've tracked. We do at the end of the year, we, in connection with trying to incentivize some of our volunteers, we have a ceremony at our firm. It's kind of a social event where we have food and drinks, and we recognize the volunteers who have spent more than 50 hours of their time. And people really seem to like that. I don't think that they're doing it for that, but it's a nice pat on the back. It's a nice thank you for the time that we've spent. And one of the other things that we've started doing is during annual reviews, we'll ask people about not necessarily focusing on just the number of hours, but are you working on any pro bono matters? What matters are they? What kind of things have you been doing? And I think attorneys knowing that they're going to be asked about that at their annual review, it helps focus them on making sure that they carve out some time during the year to help with some of these projects. So those are some of the things that we have in place.
One thing I want to be sure to mention is the Corporate Pro Bono Challenge. Amelia, if you could put in the chat box that last website. This is the Corporate Pro Bono website. Corporate Pro Bono is a partnership of ACC and the Pro Bono Institute, and it's specifically geared towards in-house attorneys. They have a challenge. They've had almost 200 signatories, including AT&T, Coca-Cola, and Home Depot. And the goal of that challenge is at least 50% pro bono participation by your lawyers and legal staff. So pretty simple way to measure it is just trying to get at least half of your legal department participating in pro bono work. So that's something I encourage you to check out. Rick, do you have anything to add about goals or measurement before we take the questions?
No, I think that's right. It's, you can measure number of hours, number of matters, number of volunteers. I care most about that last one. Like, I don't like the same 5 people doing everything. And so we really focused on increasing that number of volunteers. That said, AT&T has a program similar, a recognition similar to what Jeff's talking about. Ours is 100 hours. So I was very proud somebody on my team recognized this year with more than 100 hours of pro bono work. I typically take smaller matters that only take, 2-3 hours. So it would take me a long time to get to that 100 hours. I think.
So you mentioned recognition. Anything you want to add about how you recognize people or incentivize them?
You guys have recognized us. Pro Bono Partnership has recognized Turner as its Corporation of the Year a number of times, and we certainly tout that fact. And then I told you in that weekly newsletter, a lot of times we'll include those notes of gratitude that we get from the clients. We'll include that in the weekly newsletter. I'm not bashful at all about giving somebody a shout out for something they've done. I'll just send an email to the department that says, I want to thank so-and-so for taking this on. So
that's great. We love shout outs. All right. I see one question, which is, do we have organizations in your network that are outside of Atlanta? I'm in Columbus. So for Pro Bono Partnership, we are Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, but the reality is we have clients all over the state. Certainly almost all of our volunteers are in Atlanta, but there is no reason that has to stay that way. If you are interested in volunteering with Pro Bono Partnership from another city or town in Georgia, we would love to have you. Pretty much everything we do was done virtually even before the pandemic. It's all done by email and conference call and now Zoom. So please feel free to contact me if you'd be interested in partnering with us. There are similar organizations to Pro Bono Partnership in most of the major cities in the United States, maybe 20 of them, but there's really not much in the Southeast comparable to this.
I took a matter just this week from Pro Bono Partnership that's for an organization in Columbus. So,
excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, there are plenty. And I think Gain and Kind and Georgia Lawyers for the Arts, all of them have clients at least statewide. So many of them would welcome an attorney from Columbus to do some pro bono work for them.
Yep. And then the question, can attorneys that are located in Atlanta but barred in other states participate? I can only speak to Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta, but yes, we are set up that way. As I mentioned, we act as co-counsel on every matter, so that that's how we handle it if you are barred in another state. Amelia, are there any other questions that I missed? Oh, can I make a presentation at AFLAC? Yes, please email me. You have my email address, rachel.spears@pbpatl.org. Would love to get AFLAC involved. Can I just say quickly, one thing we haven't talked about is just the need for pro bono. There are people that need your help, especially right now. This pandemic is having a huge, watch the news, it's having a huge impact on individuals. We're going to have a big increase in evictions coming up soon, so I'm sure ABLF can use your help. It's also having a tremendous impact on nonprofits. There was an article not too long ago in the AJC about a survey done of nonprofits. A lot of them are going to be shutting down. We have unfortunately been helping many of them with layoffs and furloughs and trying to renegotiate their leases and everything they can do to try to survive this. But we are already having to help a few of them with dissolution. So there is tremendous need out there. So if you have have ever thought about doing pro bono work, I would say now is the time.
Yeah, I volunteered for the payroll protection program with one of your nonprofit clients. So I'm assuming if something like that gets rolled out again, some other economic stimulus, and it's fascinating, something I would not have otherwise really delved into more deeply. So, just another benefit is just me being more knowledgeable about, what's going on in our country.
We helped almost 70 nonprofits get PPP and EIDL loans for something like $4 million.
Wow.
Loans. So that work had a tremendous impact. So thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your time today. Jeff, Rick, thank you so much. It's great to get expertise to address this. I really appreciate it. And anybody feel free to follow up with me if I can tell you more about Pro Bono Partnership or help you get hooked up to these other organizations. I'm happy to do that too. So thanks everybody. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right, bye guys.